6:33. We'll open the meeting. Members present: Carl Sculte, Jonathan Sirocco, and Mark Milius. Read into the agenda. We have Don Gillespie coming in for Sherwood Drive. General discussion items regarding George's Rain Estates and ongoing business regarding Sherwood Drive and Wilby Builders. And then discussion of the open meeting law and approval of the meeting minutes and no bills payable this month.
Make a motion to accept the agenda as read.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. Okay. Don, you guys are up.
Good evening, everybody. Don Gillespie with Wilby Builders and my partner, Paul Sharon. Tonight, we're here basically for a reduction in the surety that we posted for the completion of the roadway on Sherwood Drive. We posted $120,000 and the road's substantially done. There are a couple of items that still need to be completed that I'd like to just go over with you and then get any input from the board on any thoughts on what we're asking for.
And this again is only Sherwood Drive, right? That's the only road that you guys are responsible for?
Extension. It has nothing to do with the Highland Circle subdivision that was another builder finished out that section on Highland over near the power lines, and they were responsible for doing the complete circle, all that road work. None of that had anything to do with us. As you enter the subdivision and you come to the first stop sign, you take a left, Sherwood Drive Extension. It's the first road on the left. And it starts right there and runs down to a cul-de-sac. That road's 1,000 feet long. That's what we were responsible for. The surety that was posted was specifically for that roadway. Merrill Associates is the consulting engineer, I believe. You should have in your files their review of the work that's been completed to date on Sherwood Drive. And the top coat is on.
We looked at that a couple of weeks ago, a couple of meetings ago.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, basically the road is done as per plan. There are a few outstanding things and they're relatively small items. So I'd like to go over those and just bring you guys up to speed. So below is a list of items that we have. The shoulders will be loomed and seeded by Little Dryden Contracting within 2 weeks. And when we say the shoulders, we're talking about there's the top coat of the roadway went on about 3 to 4 weeks ago, and they needed 2 weeks for that to basically harden up and secure before they went back and loomed the shoulder. The shoulder's between the edge of the sidewalk and the edge of the roadway. On the left-hand side of the roadway as you go in, there's a sidewalk only on the left-hand side. That strip is about 2 feet wide, 2 to 3 feet wide. So that is the strip that has to be loomed and seeded. The basin's been completed and seeded and done for quite a while when the base coat of the roadway went in. All the drainage is complete. So we have a strip there that has to be loomed and seeded, which is going to be done within the next 2 weeks.
Do you think the seed's gonna take this late in the year?
I think typically what happens, and it all depends with the weather, what we'll end up doing is we'll seed it, and chances are they'll have to go back in the springtime and reseed it.
Okay.
But with snow plowing and everything else, it could end up being one of those things that we have to come back and do again in the spring.
Okay.
But you know, basically the other items on the list.
Just so I'd like to itemize like the cost of each. Do you have any estimate on what the cost for that particular part
The shoulders, I believe there was a holdout of $2,800 for that.
Okay, thank you.
And I know one of the questions or the concerns raised was that the curbs when they got installed, when you put the final top coat on, right, they're a little higher than the grass might be on both sides of the road. Are you looking to feather in the other side of the road as well?
Yeah, I mean, basically when he looms and seeds the left side, he's gonna bring that grade up with 2 to 3 inches of loom and then seed over it. So that will, you know, make that transition the way it should be. It'll come up to the edge of the roadway. Anything on the other side will be taken care of too at that time.
Okay.
So the part of the contract with Little Dryden is to backfill the berm all the way around the roadway.
Okay.
So if there's touch up on the other side, that will be done too.
Okay.
Number two was, in the plan, there aren't any streetlights for the subdivision. What the plan required was there's a lamp post for each house. So what we did is we installed there are 10 homes, we installed all 10 lamp posts at once. So the lamp posts are installed, the lighting fixtures are installed on top of the posts, and the wires are run underground to each home. Wednesday of this week, we have scheduled with the homeowners to do the tie-in of the electric wire to the home. And my understanding is, relative to the plan, is that those lamp posts act as streetlights. There's a sensor that's going to go on the outside of the home that turns a light on at dusk and off at dawn. So that's something that the town required, that next Wednesday will be 100% complete. That's the balance for finishing that work is $1,500.
Were some of them already done? I feel like one of the citizens on the street there said that most of them were done, and there was a couple that were just
Well, what
left.
happened is we went down and installed 10 lamp posts.
Yep.
We then had a contractor go back a few weeks later to install the underground wire to the homes.
Yep.
And one of the homeowners decided he didn't want a lamp post. So he removed the lamp post. And when the guys went back to install the wires, we realized that one post was gone. I then contacted that homeowner and said, you know, I understand that you don't want a lamp post, but it's a requirement per the approval of the plan that that lamp post has to be there. At that point, he understood. He reinstalled the lamp post, and I have 10 lamp posts for 10 houses now.
Okay.
So it was basically, he took it upon himself to remove it. After I talked to him, he understood and put it back.
So you guys were able to work that out? That's good.
Yes, it's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. Number three is, there was another question on another lot that two of the 27 street trees? Two of the 27 street trees were in the road layout. One homeowner had a question about these trees are in the wrong spot. The trees, the plan was specific as far as the tree locations were concerned. We didn't arbitrarily plant the trees in spots. We had the engineer for the project go out and stake every location of every street tree per the plan. When the trees were installed by a contractor, they were installed in those locations. So if you drive through the subdivision and you look at the spacing on the trees and the locations of the trees, once this as-bilt's complete, it will be an as-built of the tree locations, which will tell us that they're in the right spot.
And that's consistent with what was proposed?
Exactly.
Yeah, I know that there was some question that was about the fact that they were between the back of the berm and the sidewalk. But we actually looked at it, and that is where they were proposed. So have they actually been installed now?
The trees were installed.
Yeah, okay.
The trees were installed probably 4 to 6 weeks ago. And the contractor that installed the trees was, part of the contract was for him to water them with a watering truck, which he did, which we have an invoice for. So those trees were watered after they were installed.
7 times.
7 times. So that work has been done.
Yeah, I think the weird situation here is that elsewhere in the neighborhood there, everything was set back technically out of the right of way. And this is the one street where the trees happen to fall in the strip between the sidewalk and the curb.
Right.
And if these are the same ornamental pears that are growing everywhere else in the neighborhood, they have a low canopy, they grow wide instead of tall. So when they're right up on the street, you have to duck when you're walking through the sidewalk to get underneath them when you're just walking. So in the cars, I think you're gonna have the same problem, that the trees are gonna be encroaching onto the street. I think the problem is that it was built per plan, So I don't really know what
Yeah.
much is there that we could do.
We've had an experience before where we've done subdivisions and we've installed street trees, and our contractor has actually interacted with the homeowners and moved the trees. And then when we went back to planning, we had to put the trees back where it showed on the plan. So our policy is, what the plan shows is where the trees go. If, the homeowners or the town or anybody wants those relocated after the fact, then, that's their responsibility, not ours, because we did it twice one other time and made the decision that, we prefer to go by the plan and put them in the location that the plan says. If that never came up beforehand, if that was something that we knew beforehand, that was what was approved.
Which part? The previous installation?
The location of the two trees that are in the,
It's not two trees, it's all of them. I think it was just one owner was questioning the 2 trees on their property. Everything's
all of them
done.
are in the,
In the strip.
oh, okay.
That's where they were flagged. And the flags were
I thought it
out
was
there
the
for,
opposite.
in
I
what
thought it
way?
was the opposite, that they were, some of the trees were put on the properties and that
I
one
think that's
property
what
owner
the
said they were
letter
in the
says.
strip.
In
I just
reality,
remember we confirmed that the people that came in with the question, their particular lot was certainly, that's where they were proposed.
And I've driven down there. I think they're all in the strip between the sidewalk and the street,
Yeah.
which is per plan. So there's no reason I think that you
Right.
would put 2 there and the rest behind it, because it
and
is.
to be honest, I'll take another look because I didn't look exactly where they were. I know that we flagged them and then we put them where the flags were, unless the flags got moved, but
So if
that
we,
as-bilt's gonna show.
if we were to ask you to shift them behind the sidewalk, what would your reply be?
Move all the trees?
All
Well, the
27
ones,
trees.
yeah, the ones that are right up on the sidewalk, I guess it would be half of them, or that are right up on the street.
But I'd probably have to get an estimate on the work. I don't know what, I know that it was $450 per tree to be installed with the tree. So if we're talking about moving 13 trees and it's gonna be, $300 a tree, then we're gonna have to look and see. I'd have to find out what the cost is
Yeah.
before I could answer that.
Yeah. 'Cause I don't think we're disputing that it was built per plan. It's just
Right.
ultimately in the interests of having the subdivision function properly and not have those trees all of a sudden
Right.
cutting off 10 feet of the roadway. Might be in everybody's best interest, the town's best interest to have them.
And there may be a situation where, some neighbors don't want them in the strip and some neighbors do want them in the strip. So before we move trees back onto
Yeah.
people's property, it always turns into an individual decision for each person. So if there's 10 homes, or there's 5 or 6 homes, and, 3 of the 6 want them on the strip, 3 of the 6 want them off the strip, now you have.
It's gonna look weird.
Yes.
That would,
I think it's actually gonna be somewhat of a learning experience for us, because now I know I'm personally gonna be making sure that I notice where the note is, because I believe they would be better served behind the sidewalk outside of the layout.
Right.
So,
So we're just asking the
yeah,
question at
yeah,
this
no,
point.
yeah, I think one of the things is we also want to make sure that if we transferred the trees now, that we wouldn't be
We
really
need a new plan.
causing damage to them.
Correct. Yeah, if they've already had a couple months of establishment.
About 6 weeks. That's another question we need for our contract. So so on that issue, you want us to look into?
Yeah.
yeah,
and
if you
then
would,
just
please.
See what you'd be willing to do,
And
if anything.
Do you want us to get input from the people that are gonna be affected?
Yeah, if you'd like to reach out to them,
If we're
that'd be
planting
great.
on, like, we're in the road layout, we're planting in the road layout, that's not their property.
Correct.
If we move it back on the other side of the sidewalk, and you want it 4 feet off the sidewalk, now we may be planting on their land. So,
But do you?
I don't know how that affects.
They've got to be in a row. I mean, you can't.
Yeah, I don't think we.
Yeah, if one neighbor wants 3 feet, the other one wants, yeah, that's true. If they're not uniform,
And then we
it
may
would-
need an easement or something like that. So
Yeah,
It's open.
I think you would just install it and it would be their property to maintain, because I think that's how it is elsewhere in the neighborhood, is it's on private property once it's installed. In this case, unfortunately, the people already own it, in the other scenarios, it would have been yours until you sold it to them, and then they would have just had the tree on their property?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all sold.
That's why I think it
occupied.
might be something to address in the future, but as of right now, I think they built it to spec, and I think should be acceptable.
Yeah, I mean, if you get all those people together, you know that everybody's not gonna agree on those streets.
So it's what, 6 owners or 5 owners on that side of the street? Something like that?
On that side of the street, there's actually more because it's, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 6 or 7.
Okay,
On the right side of the street where there is no sidewalk, there's less homes. I think there's 4 before you hit the cul-de-sac. So I think it affects the majority of homes down there.
okay. So I personally think if you could make the effort and just reach out to them, see if they'd be amenable to it, and then, come back to us with an idea of whether or not you'd be willing to move them if people did want them moved, I think that would be something that we'd like to hear your position on.
All right.
I think what we need to do is get to the contractor and make sure that they're movable at this point without destroying them.
Sure.
And then get some idea of what we're looking at.
Okay. Is that something that we can communicate with Terry on?
Yeah, I think so.
As far as like, once we do get the addresses, I'll get the addresses of the homes, I'll speak to the homeowners, and then I'll get their position on it.
Yeah.
We can relay it.
Yeah, that'd be
And
fine.
then- Okay. I already went over this item, which is the engineered as-built that's required. That was number 1, basically, but I guess I'll reiterate. The engineer is currently doing the as-built. He's working with Merrill Associates. The meets and bounds for the roadway, for the basin are all installed. Right now, he's doing the grading on the basin and locating the meets and bounds on, basically now it's an existing condition plan.
Yep.
So he said he needs another 2 weeks to complete the existing conditions plan, and the cost of that plan, the balance would be $2,500. And that's all I have for items to complete the roadway.
And then I'm sure you guys have the letters from the owners, right? Most of them are house specific to the interior house, not really in our purview. Like I said, the one question would be any sort of the grading or ponding that's behind one of the houses.
Yeah, that was 11 Sherwood Drive, and that house has a garage door, a single door that leads out of the back of the garage.
Yeah.
The grading in the back of that lot, it was a little high on the back of the garage, so basically we had about a 3-inch step out of the door. And last winter, a lot of that particular lot and one across the street were completed in the end of November. The landscaping, which typically we hold off on if it's that late in the season and we do it the following spring, was required. I don't know if it was both lots, but one lot I do know that the bank required it to be hydroseeded and completed before closing, and that was something that we were instructed to do to close on the home. That's something the homeowner knew, even with us saying that this isn't a good idea, this should wait till the spring, see what you can do about a holdback. That didn't happen. We did it, and then in the spring, because it didn't root, there were some washout issues and a few other things. That was actually the lot across the street from 11. That's been resolved with the homeowner. The one with the garage door, we went back and we actually, we did a retaining wall, a timber retaining wall around the doorway. We dropped the grade. The retaining wall around the doorway gave us a 7-inch step. So we were able to raise the grade up at the back of the garage to create a swale to go around the side of the house.
Okay. Was that recently?
No, well, that was probably 2 months ago. Now, he says the ponding's continued. That's something that I will address this week with a landscaper when we go down to look at the grading in the area. So basically, that's an outstanding item that still needs to be addressed.
Okay.
It was corrected once. It
Now,
was-
would you know, is that 13 Sherwood?
That
I'm not
was,
sure if you know
That was 13.
that. Okay,
Yeah, Talarico.
okay.
Okay.
I think that's,
So then you're asking for, I think you originally asked for 100 of the 120 to be released?
Correct.
Is that what the number is?
That's what we would like.
Any discussion?
Yeah, based off of what work appears to be done, plus, you know, a few percent just in case anything ever happens, I would be comfortable holding the 20,000 for what work appears to be left uncompleted.
Yeah, it seems like, and that would leave a buffer for anything that would have to be done with the trees too, if something was done there too.
I guess my only one condition is that all this stuff is happening literally within this coming week. Our next meeting is the 2nd of November. I guess my one condition would probably be that we have a progress report at least on that day, or before, at least for our meeting that day, to say all these things have either been addressed and completed. And I would say, you know, obviously something from the homeowners or whatnot. Because there's a lot on here. There's a lot of what ifs, to be honest with you.
Yeah, but I think, to me, it's just a
Enough to-
question of,
yeah.
are these things worth more than
No,
what we
yeah,
would
no, I know what
hold,
you're talking
you know?
about. I just,
I think we could
in the
address.
interest of everybody though.
Yeah, I think as long as we retain what we would consider enough
Yeah.
to resolve any issues, I
Yeah.
think.
And then do we typically hold something through the spring in case, do you need to go back and reseed or anything in the spring? Is that how we typically do it? Just some
In
ancillary?
the past, I don't believe we have done that.
What about the catch basins? When was the last time they were cleaned out?
I would have to check. I don't think that we've re-cleaned them recently.
Okay.
So
So with the fall, dropping a lot of leaves, things like
yeah,
that.
they would
mess.
probably have to be cleaned before this winter, I'd say.
Okay.
You'd probably wait another few weeks
Yeah, you don't want
for
to
everything to come down.
redo work with all the leaves still falling.
So the thing I guess is the tree corresponding with the neighbors about potentially relocating the trees. We can go and speak with the neighbors, how quickly we get feedback from them, and, you know, obviously we have to talk to our contractor first to make sure that we're not, you know, killing
Trees that you've already paid for?
14 trees and then having to buy them again by moving them.
Yep.
Yeah. I think Carlos made a good point, though. It's worth the effort.
It's worth
So,
talking to them.
yeah.
too.
That was a good point.
And then we'll find out a cost on doing that, but if it's a reasonable cost, then we're amenable to doing it at our expense, but like I said, we need to make sure that the trees are not gonna die.
Yeah, I don't think that's what anybody wants. We just want to make sure that this is going to be a good road that the town can maintain down the road.
And we'd like to have it clear and have something in writing from the homeowners that says, once these trees are moved to this location, they understand that they're not gonna be moved again. And like I said, we're gonna have to look into the easement thing. I don't know how far the road layout goes back. If they can be moved on to the other side of the sidewalk and still be in the road
I
layout.
think it's going to be
Yeah.
private property at that point. I think
Yeah,
the right of way
chances
stops at the
are.
back of walks.
Yeah.
It's usually back of a walk and then you push your road layout in, but.
I don't know if that requires easements and legal work from the neighbors or.
Well,
Not a
it's
permanent
not if-
one.
Yeah, especially if they were in agreement with it and then, wouldn't be an issue.
Okay. So make a motion to. I
Make a
think I can,
motion.
right?
Make a motion to release 100,000 of the 120,000 surety to Wellbe Builders. Is it also Ann Paul? She and you
No, it's
separate
just Wellbe
entities
Builders,
to
LLC.
Wellbe Builders?
Do we have a second?
I second that motion.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you very
I
much.
guess we'll,
Thanks, Terry.
See you later.
next item is Jordis Rain Estates, a release of the covenant. I think we discussed this last week.
Yeah, that's just the actual
The actual
release of
document.
the lots.
Jonathan, I don't think you were here last time, so the developer there posted a bond to cover the cost of the roadway construction so that they could get their lots released. We voted on it last week. Everything seemed to be okay, so I think we just have to sign.
I think
Do we all sign or?
I don't think I can.
the only one that can sign are the ones that actually voted to release.
Right.
So we'll have to get Gordon to do that.
Thank you.
Can you do another copy
How
for
many?
me?
2 copies?
Yeah, or two originals.
And the other 2 copies here for, or 1 more. Don't need the 3rd one?
Yeah, go ahead, do it.
Okay.
Go nuts.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Sherwood Drive, Wellbe Builders. They were just in. I saw there was some correspondence from the other developer, or from the other builder, right?
Yeah, he was, Ed Jones.
So Ed said he's coming back in the next couple of weeks to loam and seed. If he can't do it now, he'll do it in the spring.
Yep.
That's about the extent of it.
I guess it's really just a case of with this tree issue is making sure it's all uniform throughout the whole development. I don't know if you've been down Sherwood. I think we're getting conflicting information as to where the trees are and where that one particular property is saying those are in front of their house.
I'm pretty sure they're all in the strip, right? So you got the
All the way
curb,
down?
the grass strip, and the sidewalk.
Yeah.
I think they're all in that grass strip.
Okay, but in Highland, they're all on the properties.
Correct. They're all behind the sidewalk or 10 feet off the curb or so on the other side of the street. And it's funny because you walk the sidewalk and this particular type of tree grows out sideways and it's low hanging.
Yeah.
So you're ducking underneath all these trees all the time when you're just walking on the sidewalk. So,
But you guys got
It's-
sidewalks?
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, you don't get that on
Luxurious.
top.
Get that on Gower Street.
Yeah.
You're lucky if you get the white lines.
Yeah.
Well, I just think it's a weird position where it was a good idea to ask that of them, but I don't think it's a good position to like demand it from them.
Yeah.
Only because they did it to plan. Like,
It would look shitty.
I think in the future, I think I'll be wary to make sure because of different phases, different builders, that all the trees end up in the same spot. But more importantly, that they all end up outside of the layout.
Or, yeah, a certain distance off the
Anything
road.
paved, yeah, any paved surface, or
So it's gonna
like you're saying, that type of tree in that area, it's not really the best
Yeah.
design either.
They look nice in the spring.
I just don't know if it's the right thing
Because then
to.
they're officially the town's trees now.
Yeah,
Well,
So if there's ever a problem with them, now the town has to pay for the removal, the
that's what I'm
pruning,
saying. So it's,
everything.
it's better off if
Versus
they have them
if they're
on
on
the
their
lot.
property, it's the property owner's responsibility.
Right, because if the road's only 25, 30 feet wide and the tree has a 10-foot canopy on each side, you're going to end up with a 10-foot drive aisle down the middle of it because the trees are all going to be out in the road.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a different.
And,
Something to learn.
And
I
the
mean,
issue
what are you
of
gonna do?
the sidewalk popping on certain trees, it definitely could be an issue over time.
Where was the septic tanks were in the backs of the houses, right? They're in the front. You put,
I think
They're usually in the front, so you can put a
because-
pool in the back if you need to down the road.
Yeah, 'cause remember the people that were in were talking about the electric line going over the
yeah, I
septic.
think you cause a little bit of a. If you start to put.
Yeah, but your septic system's going to be further back from the street line. There'll be a setback of at least 10 feet from even the over dig. So like your septic system
Well, you're
would never
definitely
be
gonna
that
get
close.
You're definitely gonna get pop-ups with the roots. You know that. Like the definitely the sidewalks are gonna start to.
Those trees don't seem to have too bad of a root system.
Well,
At
like
least right now,
hardwoods
couple years
generally
down the
go
road.
down versus,
Right.
you know, pines and soft stuff, which usually
Just low,
goes out
yeah.
further.
They're not
but-
deep root, but like, even still, like you can't just say it's not gonna happen because it possibly could. Roots take the less form of resistance.
Yeah, but I think if you're in a 2 or 3 foot strip, that's probably gonna be trouble, but 5 feet or 10 feet, I think you'd be,
Well, it's good to know.
yeah.
Definitely
Like I said,
good.
I think in the future we'll make sure that they're not designed to be in that strip.
Agreed. So we gotta change the subdivision regs, right?
We gotta talk to Dunkin' Donuts before they start putting their greenery.
Yeah, let's have them come in again, right? Okay, meeting minutes. Anybody want to vote to accept the September 21st?
Wow, we were all
Yeah. You're on a roll for making motions today, Mark.
I am. Hold on a second.
I was like, I got an official one. This is an official copy.
It says official though.
It's an official copy, though. What's an unofficial copy look like?
And I don't know,
Written on a
It says
napkin.
official.
because I don't have a stamp anymore, so I have to put that.
Ah,
Make a motion to accept the meeting minutes for September 21st, 2017.
Second that.
all those in favor?
Aye.
It's funny that you made the motion originally to motion to start.
See?
All right,
Good at
go
making
ahead and sign
motions.
it.
Yeah.
In case
wait,
of the
hold on,
other
let's-
one, because Gordon's going to.
This
Okay,
one.
Gordon's a good one.
Ooh, official.
You want one of each?
Is yours? Do you have an
Do
official
you have
one
an
too?
official one?
No, I got a
It's got an
copy.
official copy.
We have to put the date here too. What's
Yeah.
today? The 18th.
19.
Oh, I did not put that on there. You can jot that down underneath.
You have to put it on the bottom side, right?
No, it should be there, it's just broken. That was the 2 pages.
Yeah,
There's the
it's on
date
Yeah,
in the
put it
last row there. Yeah.
Right, pull it all up onto 3 sheets.
Is the 18th?
19.
19th?
Yeah. Take that, you take that.
Thank you. For you. For you, and we cannot do the 5th, right?
No.
Because we don't have 3 to vote on it. Okay. We'll do that one for next time. Any other motions? No bills to pay?
Bills. Make a motion to adjourn?
I'll second that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.